Hello everyone, welcome back. Music, like any other art form, is rather subjective. What one person may love, the next may hate. There is no universal truth when it comes to such matters of taste. With this in mind, today I'm going to pull up some of my favorite albums on various sites and see why some users rated them very poorly. Before we get into it though, if you like the shirt that I'm wearing or any other shirt I've worn from like 2018 onwards, you can find my merch over at www.shopsamuraiguitarist.com. Over there, I've got a number of designs in a variety of styles, sizes, and colors. Picking up some of that Sammy G merch is a great way to support what I do while also looking rather sharp. Anyways, let's get to it. Okay, the first album I'm gonna pull up today is John Mayer's Continuum. Now, I'll admit, I used to be a fairly big Mayer hater. For a while, all I knew him from was his acousticy, whispery, poppy songs, you know, the ones that won over the hearts of many a teenage girl, as well as their minivan driving, love-starved moms. I'm talking about his songs from the early 2000s that were all over the radio, like Your Body's a Wonderland. Didn't really do anything for me, so I didn't bother to look any deeper into his catalog. However, one day in 2006, I was working in a music store when a fellow employee put on the song Gravity from his newest album, Continuum. I was instantly hooked. I bought the album, I listened to it on repeat, and it's been a favorite of mine ever since. When I go to the reviews of this album on iTunes, I see that there are a few people who do not share that sentiment. If I sort by most critical, the first one-star review simply says, ew. Yeah, I mean, what even is the counter-argument there? Yum. The next review says, it has been 70 years since I've been listening to John Mayer, and I love it, but his last album is horrible. I don't think John Mayer was making music in the 1940s, so we're not off to a great start here. It has no beat, no depth, no enthusiasm. What are you, nuts? That's Steve Jordan and Pino Palladino in the rhythm section, literally the best in the business. From your greatest fan, Grammy Patty. If your greatest fan is giving you a one-star review, that is less than ideal. Username Metalhead left a one-star review and he said, "This is boring, don't buy this, buy Children of Bodom or Dream Theater." I mean, really different demographic here. That's like saying I had a terrible time at the water park, don't go there, go to the strip club. Sure, they're both fun for different reasons, but I don't think that the clientele who would be interested in a John Mayer album is really gonna get into Children of Bodom, but who knows, I could be wrong. And now here's Teddy, who says, "He looks like death, his music stinks." Scathing stuff there, Teddy. Let's take a closer look at the picture on the album cover to see how bad John really does look. Next up, we're gonna check out the reviews on Stadium Arcadium by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, my favorite Chili Peppers album is actually Californication, but if you look up albums that came out before iTunes, Amazon, etc. were popular, you don't get very many user reviews, so that's kind of skewing the albums that I'm checking out today. However, I do like this album a lot. I was late to the party when it came to the Chili Peppers. When I was a kid, they were absolutely huge, but I didn't really pay a ton of attention to them until years later when one of my buddies turned me on to them shortly before Stadium Arcadium was set to come out. When I got into them, I really got into them. My hype for this album was real. I counted down the days before it came out. I saw them twice on that tour, and I still thoroughly enjoy it. My personal review for Stadium Arcadium is that I think it's a very strong double album. There is some filler there, and had they cut it down to only the best tracks, I think it would have been their strongest album as well as an all-time classic. Now let's see what the Metacritic user reviewers have to say. Jared, who gave the album a lowly 3 out of 100, said, "There are a few good tracks here, padded by about 20 not so good tracks. Had they released it as a single disc and trimmed the fat, it might have been a classic, or at least on par with their last two releases. As it is now, it's boring, overlong, and hollow." Well, a similar sentiment as I have, so fair take, Jared. However, I think if you enjoy some songs on an album, giving it 3 out of 100 is a little dramatic, but some fair points. Mark H said, "Could be the worst album that has ever been recorded. I hope this band never sets foot in another studio ever again." Sorry, Mark, who wrote this review in 2006. The band has continued to make albums, so unfortunately for you, your wish did not come true. And I've got to say, if this is the worst album that you've ever heard, consider yourself lucky that you didn't have an aunt who only listened to Billy Ray Cyrus's greatest hits every single time she drove you home from hockey. The next reviewer, Jonas W., had this to say, "I'd rather hit myself in the head with a brick while listening to the Paris Hilton CD than listening to this album." A very 2006 reference. I personally haven't heard Paris Hilton's album, so I can't comment on that. However, to Jonas W., I will say this, please do not hit yourself in the head with a brick. CTE is a very serious thing, and we need you around to review the album that the Chili Peppers are currently working on. Okay, next up, we're gonna check out what people had to say about the Beatles' stripped down album, Let It Be Naked. The album Let It Be was the last album that the Beatles released, even though it was the second last album that they recorded. There was a lot of turmoil in the group during this time. The producer Phil Spector was brought in to add some overdubs, like choir parts, orchestra parts, and a whole bunch of other things that Sir Paul wasn't a huge fan of. In 2003, the album Let It Be Naked was released, which essentially stripped away all those extra parts, leaving only the music played by the Beatles, as well as some alternate takes, stuff like that. I really love this album. I grew up listening to the Beatles, so their music has always felt quite familiar to me. When this came out, it was the closest that I ever got to experiencing new Beatles music. Let's see what the haters on Amazon have to say. There are a lot of fairly long diatribes here. A lot of the problems that people seem to be having is that it either wasn't what they were expecting, or they took issue with an album that they held so dear being changed so dramatically. There's a lot of passion here, and I can understand some of the frustration. However, there is one user who had this to say. Original album, not the authentic studio tapes. Played it on my iPhone against my original album, and there's absolutely no difference. Rip off. What I'm getting here is that this reviewer thinks that he took the original Let It Be album and then played the Let It Be Naked album at the same time on his iPhone and heard no difference. I have trouble believing the veracity of this story. Not only are the differences pretty pronounced, but both albums start on a different song. Sorry guy, I think you accidentally queued up the original Let It Be album twice. Okay, moving on, we're gonna pull up Daft Punk's Random Access Memories on iTunes. This was the summer album of 2013. The song Get Lucky was absolutely everywhere. I quite like it. It was really cool hearing Daft Punk played with live instruments. And plus, anything with Nile Rodgers playing guitar is my idea of a good time. Now let's see the opposite opinion. The Lord Nikon says, well, seriously, not the best album. Okay, fair. Discovery is probably my favorite album by the band. Don't think you can even dance or listen to it while driving on a nice sunny day. Unless it's like a little bit of a shoulder shimmy here and there, you probably shouldn't be driving and dancing at the same time, sunny day or cloudy day. This next person titled their post, Stop Being Lazy, and said, all the songs that featured singers sound like they did most of the singing. I hate to break it to you, but that is often the case when you feature a singer. This user titled his review Bad, and his review was, it is bad. A simple yet effective way of getting his point across. This next guy says, I think they're getting old, too much smooth jazz influence with a robot voice over top. Ha 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 ha, it's kind of comical. Smooth jazz with robot voice sounds like my idea of a good time. You're telling me that I'm getting too old too? Though I do have life insurance, a will, a mortgage, and I'm closer to 50 than 15, he may have a point. Moving on, let's pull up the Mars Volta's Deloused in the Comatorium on Metacritic and check out what the bad user reviews have to say. Now, for me, it took me a bit to get into this band. I saw them open for the Chili Peppers on their Stadium Arcadium tour, and the sound was terrible. When you have music that is that intricate and loud, if the sound sucks, it turns into absolute mush. I was put off the band for a few years until a buddy in college showed me this album, and I was hooked. It's hard, it's fast, it's angry, it's musically intricate, and it moves me in all the right ways. Clearly not everybody shares that same sentiment, and I gotta give it to the negative Mars Volta reviewers, they're probably the best of the bunch. Earl M says, this here album is the reason I still listen primarily to hillbilly mountain music. Pike says, gets crappier with each listen. Bob B says, the music on the CD is on par with the sounds of gerbils getting slaughtered in a blender. What I love about this one is he is actually kind of right. Good stuff, Mars Volta haters. Keep it up. All right, let's do one more here, and for this one, we're gonna switch it up. I'm gonna find an album that I absolutely despise and read the good reviews. I cannot stand the pop country artist known as Luke Bryan. I'm not gonna go on a big rant here, but if you know his music or are any way familiar with it, you can probably understand at least why some people wouldn't enjoy it. However, there are others who absolutely love his stuff. He is huge. So let's pull up his album, Crash My Party on Amazon, and see what they have to say. Johnny Handysides says, it's awesome. It really isn't. Vivian said, this is country music at its best. Have you heard of Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Steve Earle, Hayes Carl? This is country music at its worst. She goes on to say, the lyrics are really meaningful and the guitar playing superb. Okay, I concede that point. The guitar playing is superb. But the lyrics are meaningful. Let me read a little excerpt here. You got that suntan skirt and boots? waiting on you to look my way and scoot. Your little hot self over here, girl, hand me another beer. Yeah. I mean, I suppose a wading pool seems deep if you've only ever played in a puddle. She continues her review by saying, I can't imagine a better album for country lovers. Let's get something straight here. Pop country is to country what Taco Bell is to Mexican food. And she wraps it up by saying, and Luke Bryan is good looking. He's okay looking at best. Here's another review. One of those play and actually listen to every song CDs. My husband borrowed it and I haven't seen it back yet. Lady Helen Keller knew more about good music than your husband. Annie from Germany said, sehr gute country music. Nein, dieses Album gehört in den Müll. Alright, that's it. That's the video. Those are my reactions to a bunch of opinions that I don't agree with on a bunch of albums that I like and one that I don't. Remember, you can check out some of that sweet, sweet Sammy G merch over www.shopsamuraiguitarist.com. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for a wide range of musical content. If you want to check out another video like this one, hit that link up there. Till next time, thank you all for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.